Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. This video, I'm going to be explaining to you how you can really unlock your personality into understanding more of who you are meant to be. I'm going to give you a realization for understanding this idea in a completely new light, and then give you some practical exercises that you can apply in your life that really have the ability to shape and change the way that you view yourself and the way that you view the world. Now, first off, to do this, what I want to say the main premise of this video is understanding that our personality is much more flexible than we priorly thought that it was. That when we learn that at a certain point in time, even at subconscious levels when we were young and certain reference experiences happened, we made a decision as to who we were. And from that point going forward, we remained as consistent to that way we defined ourselves as we possibly could, unless something else came up that made us redefine ourselves. So a lot of times we will have a personality, a way that we define ourselves, and as we go through life, we will make it as consistent as we can until maybe something else happens. Now, I want to propose an idea to you that when you were born, that when you're a baby, one thing that we really value in babies is the idea that a baby is just completely itself. There's no filter around it. It is not lying to you. If it wants what it wants, it's doing what it does. There's no filter around it. It's being itself. Now, what happens is as we grow up, we go through certain reference experiences. Now, I know for me, for example, was growing up, I was told, maybe from like the age of 5 to 7, I don't really remember the exact age, but I was told that children are meant to be seen but not heard. So being told that and being told really not to express myself as much as I wanted to, that would then begin to shape the way that I saw the world. That would begin to be the filter of the way that I viewed myself, and there could have been a point to where I just didn't express myself 100%, which, you know, most people have had that experience before, because of the way I define myself to be. Now, when it comes to this idea of understanding personality, it's about understanding that personality, another word for that, could be personal reality, for the way we view ourselves, for the way we see the world, and then that then becomes the way and the experiences that we have. But what if we understood that our personal reality is much more flexible than we priorly thought that it was? That if we were to drop the stories about who we are, the stories of the reference experiences that happened, if we begin to drop those and see them in a new light, we then begin to take those filters off. Most of the filters that we have around us that are inhibiting us from actually being ourselves happened when we were very young, maybe even like 2 to 7 years old. And the reason I say this is because if we are able to be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves the question, what would I have to believe is true to feel the way that I do about myself, or to feel like there's a block around me from actually expressing who I want to be, you may then pick out a reference experience. And remember, if you ask the question, your mind will start to look for it. It might remember an experience of when you were in preschool and you wanted to be, or you said something that wasn't funny or you thought was funny and people laughed at you or whatever it was, and then you began to define yourself as somebody that shouldn't talk because there's pain involved with talking. And from that point going forward, you started to become more of an introvert. Could have been as simple as that. It could have been something your parents instilled in you, but most of our personal reality is developed when we're young, because that's when we begin to develop our beliefs and the way that we shape the world. Now, beyond just this idea, there's a wake-up call that we can have. A wake-up call is becoming aware of the fact that we have those beliefs, we have those perspectives, and that they came from a lot of times the idea of our past. And the moment we become aware of those, we can start to remove the layers. And the simple way we remove the layers is by looking at it, being aware of it, seeing what the lesson could have been, seeing that we could have now defined ourselves in a new way, letting it go, and then simply making a decision right now in this moment that we are going to expand the way that we view ourselves. Now, we don't need to be a shy person all of our life and then say to ourselves over and over again that I'm just a shy person. We can break out of that by realizing that our personal reality, our personality is much more flexible than we priorly thought. That if we simply make the decision right now that we are going to be somebody that takes action as if we are an extrovert, if we stop thinking so much about what we're saying and we just simply start to do it, we'll find that the consistency of it begins to wire ourselves in a new way, to where then we don't even think about the past, we don't even think about filtering ourselves, because we realize that that's just not who we are anymore. Now, an example for this, when I first started doing these videos, if you look to the videos that I have at the very beginning of the channel, you'll see that I'm much more inhibited or much more held back than I am right now with you. Right now, I'm much more free, and I'm sure even in a year from now, I'll look at this video and see how inhibited I am now compared to how I'll be in a year. But what has happened is, as I do this more and more, as I do it consistently, I get better at being in front of the camera. It's more natural for me. It's not so hard. And because now I do it consistently, and especially because I'm creating like one video a day, it's got to the point to where it's just like kind of on autopilot. I don't think about it. I feel like I can express myself. And because of that practice and that identification with this is just who I am, it's got me to a point to where it's so much more fluid and that filter feels like it's pretty much gone. And that is because of identity, the way that I identify myself to be, letting go of the beliefs I had when I started this channel, which was that people won't agree with what I say. What about this? What about that? It's weird talking into a camera. I got to look into this lens. All of those beliefs, all of those stories, all of those things I was able to let go. I was even able to let go of one memory that I had from when I was in 7th grade and I had to give a speech. No, I was in 9th grade. I forget what grade I was in. I think it was in 9th grade. I had to give a speech in front of the class. It was a group speech. We all had our own part. I studied what I was supposed to say, got to the front of the class to give my part, and I completely forgot what I was supposed to say. I stood up in front of the class. I didn't know what to say. I just couldn't remember anything, just looked around. It was the most awkward experience in my life. From that point going forward, I was almost afraid of anything to do with public speaking, or even speaking in general, even if it's in front of a camera, especially putting myself out there. But I realized that that limiting belief, that story was something I had to let go of in order for me to actually become more free of who I am. So another part of this I want to share with you is understanding that you must first make a decision as to who you are, make a decision that you have different levels of your personality. Even somebody that is normally a very shy person will have certain states of being where they're more of a talkative person. So they may be in a very good mood and see that then they're more talkative than they were if they were in a bad mood. Now on the other side of this, I'm a very extroverted person. I talk to a lot of people. I'm not very afraid of it. But there's times if I'm not in the best mood or I'm not in a peak state that I might hold myself back because of my state of being. It's about understanding that sometimes the state of being that we're in may be a determinant for how we are being and what parts of our personality are showing. Now, this is a good point that we have different levels of our personality. There's certain parts of your time or certain parts of your day that you might identify one way, and if you're feeling a different way, you might identify yourself in a different way. So understand that your personality is much more flexible than you priorly thought that it was. And as you begin to see it in that way, you then begin to realize that you can make a decision for who you are, you can take action as if that were who you are, and the more you do it, the more that you wire yourself towards being that, the more that you self-perpetually become that, because that's just a part of who you are. And that is one of the most powerful tools I've found for changing and expanding our personality, along with understanding that we are much more vast than the little box that we thought that we were, that we've put ourselves in since we were a kid. Now, another part of this is understanding how not to be and so self-conscious of what other people think. Understand, and I've talked about this in other videos, that people pick up on our energy about how we view ourselves. And if we feel reluctant to talk to other people, a lot of times it comes from separating ourselves, from saying, that's the you, this is me. That is a stranger, I do not know this person. And because we have that label, that then holds us back from actually connecting to that person and being ourselves 100%. What if from now on, when you saw other people, you just simply talk to them as if they were your friends. You literally visualize them already being your friend, maybe a long-lost friend from school that you thought you didn't remember, and you start to talk to them in that way. That will begin to change the dynamic. That will begin to change how free you feel. Start to view the other people in your life, even in public, even at the grocery store, even at a waiting room at an office. Start to view other people as your friend. Have balance, you don't always have to say things, but understand that if you start to view people as your friends, more and more natural conversation will come up. You'll feel more inclined to be yourself, and then you'll actually start to become who you are meant to be. So, with that being said, I hope you guys understand more about your personality and your personal reality, understanding it's much more flexible than you priorly thought that it was. You can let go of the story. You can start to realize you can make a decision for who you prefer to be. You can take action from that point of view and find that you begin to expand your awareness. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it. Share it if you found it of value. And as always, I will see you guys on the next video. Peace, much love, namaste. All right, bye.